and you never forget your first, boat pool. And I remember it was my second night there, and we were hearing gunshots on the other side, because usually the Turkish Coast Guard and the mafia who were bringing these boats out are fighting one another. And this boat had come in, and they'd been out in the water for 8 hours, and they were freezing. Most of them were suffering from hypothermia. And once we cleared them out, it was really odd, because we found, like, once you clear them out, you clear out the boat, because they've got their belongings in there. And we saw a Quran which was open at Surah Kaf, and it was just, I don't know, it was a really strange feeling for us. I could talk all night about it, but so yeah, there was one where it was probably midday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Usually we'd be on duty from 10 p.m. to 1 p.m. So 10 p.m. the night before to 1 p.m. the next day after lunch. It was around 11 o'clock, there was a boat coming in, and it was really rough seas. We could see that the driver had lost control of it, so it was just going in and out, and it was going towards a cliff. And we'd had 3 other boats arriving at the same time there. So me and the Swedish guy, we went out, and we saw it was going directly into a cliff, and there wasn't enough time for us to go down, drive down and walk across the coast or run across to get to that cliff. And we just had to jump. So it was like a 20-foot drop off like an almost vertical cliff, and alhamdulillah we made it okay. And then there were 2 pregnant women on that boat that were around 8 months gone. And there's one moment in there that I remember. There's this Syrian boy, he was around 8 years old, and once we'd taken everyone off, he was just looking at the sea. I went up to him to see what he was doing, and he was trying to hide his tears from his family, his mum, because he didn't want to show his mum and younger brother and sister that he was scared. And that's what sort of tells you the type of people they are. We had boats capsizing off rocks, and like, you'll see on the videos that people are throwing bags at you, but in a lot of the cases, in those bags are babies. I remember, the first one, so they were just literally from here to here, and they'll throw it at you, and you've got to try and catch it and not let it fall in the water. And I remember the first, because I didn't know my first time, and I remember opening the bag, because I felt something moving in it, and the baby just sort of reached out, and it was just kissing onto my tongue, because it was the first heat that it felt in probably around 6-7 hours, and it just wouldn't let go. They're elderly as well. There was quite a lot of elderly people there. Many of them, they would refuse help when they'd arrive. It's the Syrian cultural thing, right? Where they'd be like, "Oh, don't give it to us, give it to the kids." And this is an 80-year-old man who can't walk. One of the guys had to like hold his back so he wouldn't fall down because his legs were weak. And then we had to bring a car right up to him to sit him in the car, then take him back to the camp, which Ola will probably talk more about later. There's, the Greek people, they need to be mentioned, because, they've been doing this for the last 2-3 years. No one's been there by themselves. It's probably in the last 9 months that people have, it's become popular to go out there, right? People have started taking notice. The NGOs have probably started since beginning of December, actually physically having a presence there. They've been feeding people, they've been bringing in the boats, the fishermen have been getting calls middle of the night from the Coast Guard, and they're taking their little boats out and bringing people in. Bodies have just been washing up along the shore, and you just got to pick them up, take them to the morgue, do the ghusl and bury them. And the majority are babies, right? Babies and sort of the younger women in particular. One of my closest friends there was a guy called Rafat. He's a 23-year-old Syrian. He made the trip over himself and managed to get refuge in Denmark. His parents came over, but they drowned. So he came back to bury them, and he stayed on the island since, with us doing the rescue missions in the water. Like, I remember there was a boat that capsized 100 meters out, and we were swimming out to it. And there was this woman. She was the life jackets that they have, they're fake. They're not real. And what they actually do is they actually take in the water and pull them into the water, so that they die. So she was sinking, and she had a baby, and she's sort of going in vertically, and she's just sort of holding her baby up as she's going in, then just by one hand, and just so that at least the baby has a chance of survival. And it was just, yeah, it's, you know, the situation. That's a standard that I'm trying to put across to you, right? That, if that makes sense, right?